So yeah, this is how I slice my cucumbers. These are my pickling cucumbers. This is the first stage of my 9-day recipe for cucumbers. Yeah, it does take 9 days to actually do it. But it's a pretty simple recipe. So yeah, I cut up, well, I try and get enough cucumbers to do at least 12 to 24 mason jars, just 250 ml mason jars. I usually cut my cucumbers down to roughly 1/4 inch thick. Is usually about what I do. It's actually a really simple recipe. Most people get intimidated when I say it's a 9-day recipe, but it is actually a really simple one. Don't take much work. Well, don't take much work at all. It's just, it takes time because these pickles aren't cooked, and when they're done, they're really crispy, and they're sweet pickles. So yeah, like if you're a diabetic, yeah, you don't want these pickles. So, all right. Okay, so I got them all cut. There's about, oh, I don't know, 2.5 pounds there or so. It's a fairly big bowl. It should be enough to fill up about 12 250 milliliter bottles. So the first step in doing the 9-day sweet pickles is, this is a pot of boiled water. I just boiled it. You have to make sure you have enough water to cover all of the pickles. So day 2 today. Today we have to do pickling salt. I use, because I got about maybe about 1/3 of water there. So now what I got to do is I got to boil that, make sure the salt dissolves into the water. And I got to strain my pickles that I put in water yesterday. One of the important things is don't rinse them. So yeah, we'll just throw them in the strainer. Now I don't rinse my pickles, but I do rinse the pot that it was in. And it's important not to rinse the pickles. So we let them sit there and wait for the water to boil. So now these are all been strained, not rinsed. I'll put them back into the bowl. The water's boiling, so be careful with this. I really didn't have a kettle big enough to put that much water in with the salt, so. Okay. Day 2 is done. Good morning. Day 3 on the sweet pickle journey. So we do pretty much the same thing we did yesterday morning. We have to drain the pickles. Do not rinse them. We have to, I always rinse out the bowl, but you can't rinse the pickles. Okay, so the bowl's rinsed. Now we need to fill the kettle up with water. Actually, that's a mistake. I can't fill the kettle up. I have to grab a pot. Because I have to put all of them. Because I'm using roughly about a half a gallon of water, maybe a little less, I really only need 1 teaspoon, or tablespoon I should say, of all of them. Well, that's about all I'm using for mine. So I'll put this into boiling water, let it dissolve into the water as it boils. And then we'll top our pickles back up, and that's pretty much for day 3. Good morning, this is day 4. Today is today that we use, well, we have to do the same thing that we do every day. We have to strain our sliced pickles, strain all the water off. Okay, that's that. Today is the day that we do vinegar with pickling spices. So what I do is I don't really measure this out because I know roughly how much it takes to cover up the amount of pickles that I have. So that's usually all I do, and you would have to judge that for yourself as well. What I always did is when I first started doing my pickles, I used the same pot, the same bowl, and I just used the first day as boiling water. So you figure out how much water you need, and then that pretty much like the same amount of vinegar. The next day is the same amount of water again. Now this is the thing that I've used. This is something that I bought for tea, for doing herbal teas, for steeping our tea in our pots. But it actually works really, really, really well for my pickling spices. Now I used to always tie them up in a little bag and put them on the stove and boil the spices into the vinegar. But this thing is so much easier. And it's pretty much the exact amount that I need. So this just goes in here. I'm not sure, yeah, you guys can see that, good. And it has a little hook on the edge. I flip it over, and I'm just going to put it on the stove, boil it. Once it boils for about 3-4 minutes, the water should start to change color a little bit, and that's usually a good sign that the pickling spices have gone through the vinegar. I said water, but it's not water, it's vinegar this time around.